Okay, that's Paulo Pinheiro speaking. He's the head of the inquiry on Syria for the United Nations. He's speaking from Geneva. Some of his findings are that children are being used. He says gross violations of human rights are occurring. Some of the other points that he made was that Syrian government forces have intensified their military operation against areas that are presumed to be strongholds of anti-government armed groups. He also said that the government, during this massacre in Homs, or near Homs, the Houla massacre, which is about 30 kilometers away from Homs. In one of the areas in particular, in Taldu, he said that the government had superior equipment. Evidence available indicates that they had deployed armored personnel carriers, tanks, anti-aircraft guns, and even mortars. He also said that there are inconsistencies in the evidence which are hindering the ability to determine the identity of many of those who perpetrated the violence, but that the UN will continue with its investigation. They also said that there's evidence of sexual violence, and the interviews of the Commission indicated that government forces and militias loyal to Assad had committed violence against both men, women and children. We'll of course be getting reaction from this from our correspondent Nisreen El-Shamaili, who is in neighbouring Jordan. But first, we have this report on the findings of that Al-Houla massacre from the UN from Will Jordan.
United Nations human rights investigators have corroborated what activists told us. More than 100 people, mostly women and children, were shelled, shot and stabbed to death in Houla on May the 25th. After being blocked by pro-government activists, UN monitors managed to visit the site and interview residents. But the government wouldn't let the UN's human rights investigators who wrote this report into Syria. So they carried out 383 interviews abroad, either with exiles, by phone or on Skype. This, they say, is the town where the killings took place, Taldu in the Houla area, 25 kilometers from Homs. Here, on the afternoon of May the 25th, at least 50 civilians were killed, mostly from just one family, the Abdul Razaks. Night fell, then after 11 p.m. more killings, this time as many as 15 members of the Syed family. Both the Syrian army and the opposition had military posts nearby, and investigators say either side could have gained access. Most were shot in the chest or head, some knifed, possibly even axed. Their houses were then looted. A young survivor blamed government militiamen, but the truth is the investigators can't say for sure who did this.
I think even as time passes, you can still do very good work in trying to find out exactly what happened. This is why we think we need to keep the pressure up on the authorities to allow this Commission of Inquiry of the Human Rights Council to get in, to allow international human rights monitors to get into Syria and investigate.
The report says forces loyal to the government may have been responsible, and the killings were similar to others documented to have been committed by government forces. And the investigators say the army's shelling will have caused some of the deaths. The government, quoting two witnesses, simply blamed terrorists. This UN study didn't just look at the Houla massacre, but the whole range of human rights violations in Syria. It concludes that brutal killings, torture, rape, kidnaps and bombings are now commonplace. The final article simply says the militarization of the crisis will be catastrophic, both for the people of Syria and the whole Middle East. Will Jordan, Al Jazeera.